Welcome to the OmniTalk Fast Five, sponsored by Takeoff and the A&M Consumer and Retail Group. Today is February 4th, 2021. I am your host, Chris Walton, joined as always by Ann. Please don't have me look at another live stream platform again, Chris Mazinga, and of course, the always sprightly Emma the Intern. You guys, I am pumped. I think this is going to be I think this could be one of our best shows of all time. Are you feeling it? Are you feeling the same way I am?
You're getting really overzealous with that promise. So I hope you are ready to deliver, Chris Walton.
What's that song? I Got a Good Feeling. You know that song? It's like
Oh
who's that?
God,
Who sings that? It's like Flo
I got a
Rida.
feeling.
It's such a good David Guetta
It's
or something.
nice. Black Eyed
Yeah,
Peas.
yeah. Oh yeah, Black Eyed Peas. Okay, or yeah,
Yeah.
both of them. But anyway, whatever. It doesn't matter. Like I
No.
got that feeling today. I think it's gonna be
Or are you
hot.
thinking of the Trolls song? I got that feeling.
Oh,
Inside
that's a
my
good song
bones.
too. God, there's a lot of songs about good feelings. I wonder
Let me
why.
tell you,
Can't imagine why.
this is going to come full circle later on in a story that we have about Lego. Let me tell you.
Oh, you think so? Wow.
Oh
Okay.
yeah.
All right. I didn't know we're going there, but all right, let's do it. No, I think
Yeah.
the topics this week are all over the place, but I think most importantly, I want to start the show, you two. I want to start the show by doing what we do best, and that's giving people what they want. That's who we are. We're going to give people what we want, what our loyal subscribers want. And what are the two things that I know people want universally? Number one is Tom Brady. Those watching on YouTube will notice I have the new TB12 hat. I'm loving this thing. This thing is so
You've
sweet.
already created a completely divisive audience now. Now you've got half the people that hate you and half the people that are like, he's so
Wait, what?
boring.
You're saying people don't love Tom Brady, Ann?
There are
Emma,
individuals
please say
out
that's
there.
not true. Emma, you like Tom Brady, right?
No.
What?
The Patriots get out of here.
This is insane.
No.
Okay, this is insane. No, if you don't, I man crush on Tom Brady hard. If you don't love Tom Brady, something's wrong with you. That's just okay. And stop. The other thing we're going to talk about is my dog. We have to talk about my dog. Now, Emma,
I'm glad
you love
we
dogs.
are. I'm glad we are
love
because
dogs.
I was slightly worried that dog might not still be around because I've not heard anything about it since
The
you
dog is
got
probably
it.
the number one question I've been getting in relation to the podcast. The number one question is, how is Ginsburg?
How is Darth Vader these days?
No, Darth
She
Vader's,
surviving and thriving?
yeah, I'm pumped. I mean, it was a good move. I think it was a good acquisition. You know, we talk about acquisitions all the time. It was a good acquisition for the OmniTalk household. I mean, it's been a very calming influence on my wife and my kids, and so that's been nice. Like it's like the emotional support animal for our entire house, which I think in these coronavirus COVID-19 days is very very needed. So I'm pretty pumped.
Which you cannot bring on some planes now. Did you read that?
I did not. Can you? Why
Finally some airlines are cracking down on that. Like emotional support animals, like you can't bring a freaking llama on the plane with you and consider it an emotional support animal. So
my favorite is like the hairless Mr. Bigglesworth cat that I've sat next to on like 16 flights. You know what I'm talking about? I think we had a flight like that together one time. I was like, what the hell is this? Like, this is not supporting. In fact, this terrorizes the entire plane. This thing has no hair. Like, so anyway, but anyway, for those that are curious, the dog is doing awesome. I love it. It's fun. I'm still warming up to it. So but it's growing on me. It's growing on me. And I think once it gets trained, we'll be in a good spot. But hey, we got some killer headlines this week. So we are going to talk about a super cool new checkout free installation in Japan that Ann and I got a live tour of this week, kind of an OmniTalk exclusive. And it's one you definitely need to see. We're going to chat a little Instacart and Uber because both of them are making waves in the last mile delivery space this week. Lego, believe it or not, has made its own Tik Tok like app, which is very fun to say. And wait for it, but we plan to close with an homage to Jeff Bezos. We had planned today to devote our last space to Mark Laurie and the 10 things we want to see in his new city of the future. But sadly, sorry, Mr. Laurie, but we are going to have to bump you, which, because we're covering Bezos, that seems kind of apropos for just how things work. And that's what we're going to do. But first, a little news from the fashion world. Emma, why don't you kick us off?
All right, so story number one. Asos has bought TopShop and its sister brands in a $411 million deal. They're also going to be paying $36 million for the inventory, but the deal excludes any associated stores. So we're seeing a lot of these digitally native fashion companies buying mainly physical brands that have kind of lost their way. And I think it's because it's just an easy way to acquire a whole lot of new customers. It's probably way less expensive than doing that from scratch. And while I would love to see the experiment of ASOS going into physical retail, they just don't need to. They've got the customers and the data from this deal. I think that that's really all they need to be successful going forward.
It's a good point, Emma. That's a nuance I hadn't thought about before. And what are you thinking about this?
Well, before we get too far into it, Chris, did you know what ASOS stands for? I think you would particularly love this.
That's a really good question. I actually don't. Can I guess? Can I venture it? Can I hazard a guess?
Yes. Would you like to guess whilst I look up the rest of the information for you?
I would, and this will be quite the labor for me with an
Yes.
OUR. But anyway, my hunch, I have two guesses. I don't actually know what it stands for, but my hunch is it's either an acronym
It is.
or it's something Greek. Okay, it's an acronym.
Yes. 3, 2,
No
1.
idea.
I'm going to tell you. It stands for as seen on screen. So
I was going to go as seen on TV, but I couldn't figure out the on screen.
The original, okay. Well, on screen, obviously, because as seen on TV is so American. This is British and it's way cooler.
Well, and so 90s.
Yeah. Yes, as seen on screen. So what they originally started doing was selling like look-alike product, like Brad Pitt's leather jacket from Fight Club on the site. That was the basis of ASOS, which I thought was
like
really
from
cool.
movies. Like
from
the
movies,
movie screens.
Yeah, anything that you see on screens. Yes, movie screens. They were selling like replicas on the site. And what I love about this company has been doing e-commerce for 20 years. Yeah. Okay. They know what they're doing. And to Emma's point, like I feel awful for the TopShop employees, many of whom just found out via like Sky News and Twitter that they were losing their jobs this week. I do think that the ASOS CEO is being very bold in saying, look, we don't want your stores. We don't want your distribution centers. We don't care. We know how to do e-commerce and we know how to do it well. And so we're going to take these brands, all of these customers, like Emma said, and we're going to figure out how to turn this ship around and to sell off this product. And you know, they're same target demographic. I think it makes sense to consolidate these two. And you know, I think it'll be great to see what they do. They've already moved the TopShop website over to ASOS this morning. So if you go to topshop.com, it's already moving you over and getting you going. And so it'll be good to see what they do and how this has a trickle down effect for some of the other fast fashion players in the space, like Madewell, Forever 21, H&M, as they try to figure out their store online strategy.
That's really, dude, those guys are really interesting. That's why I love doing this show. I mean, and that's why I think conversation is so important, because there's no way you can think through all the angles on your own. And, you know, as I was thinking about this overnight, I had a big question, but I think you just answered it for me. I wasn't sure what the answer was and that's how I was going to talk. I was planning to talk about it, but like I think you guys actually solved it for me in my head, which was like, the big question for me was, there just aren't that many brands that have been successful as pure plays. And yet we're seeing this trend of people buying up all of these things. You know, we've talked about, you know, what's e-commerce ventures or whatever it's called, right? It's buying up like all those different properties like Pier 1 and stuff like that too. And so like, I kept thinking like, well, how do you, like, is this the right move? Is it really going to work? Or is there just so much money out there that everyone's flush with money and they're just buying these things thinking they can make something out of it? But your point is really great, both of you guys, and what you said is that, no, this is actually a pretty established brand. And I thought that ASOS name reference was really relevant too, because it's also a brand that's reinvented itself, which I think says something. And so they probably do know how to make something of this. And the point I was thinking last night is actually, at the end of the day, it's probably some middle ground where there's probably some amount of stores and some amount of digital. But the other part of this too, I think, is that doesn't necessarily have to be your own stores. That can be the right channel partners and the right licensing of your brand really throughout the world in terms of how you want to think about it, but doesn't require you to get into the physical infrastructure that we've traditionally associated with retail. And so I think that's the key part of this story. And you guys, 100% just unlocked the first part of that for me, which is, no, this is probably the right brand to be buying these things up, or the right company. Whereas maybe that's not the case in some of the other things we have seen or will probably continue to see.
Absolutely. I'm going to tell you about another cool thing you alluded to earlier. If you didn't catch it already, Chris and I got a sneak peek. It's on the omnitalk.blog site on social. There is a company out of Auckland, New Zealand called Imagr that has opened the first vision-only white label autonomous checkout solution in the Oasis store in Nakanoshima, Osaka, which is a fun name to say. So this is a 9,000 square foot grocery store. And it is something to behold, let me tell you. So shoppers come in, they take their individual device, they pair it with a shopping cart that they get right at the entrance, and then they can go throughout the store, shop and put stuff in the cart, just drop it right in as normal. Everything from sushi to milk to fresh produce. And they head to the checkout when they're done. They scan their barcode at checkout, walk out, bang, bang, boom. They are done. And it is incredible. Chris, I know you are super excited about this one. Tell us your thoughts. Like,
yeah,
I mean, we were both like, whoa, after we saw it. It was pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, I think I got to give the backstory. I mean, if you haven't had a chance to check out the video yet, it's actually doing really, really well. All we've done is promote it on social really at this point, and it's getting a ton of hits, relatively speaking to the normal content we put out. So I highly encourage everybody to check it out that's listening. I'll try to put it in the show notes too. But here's the backstory on this. I think, God, and Emma, what was it? Like probably in the summer when the Dash card came out, I put an article out, and I did put an article out on Forbes about how I thought this was kind of a silly idea. It's kind of like the GPS system that sits on your dash at some point, which I don't know if we still don't know if that's the answer, but so I've been skeptical of smart cards. We talked about on the show. We had the Krogo a few weeks ago, whatever. And the CEO of this company, Imagr, reached out, William Chomley, great guy. He's like, hey, can I talk to you about, some of the points you made and, just kind of work you through how we're thinking about this topic. And so reluctantly, I was like, yeah, all right, fine. I love meeting new people. I love talking tech and seeing, what I know, what I don't know. And I just peppered the dude with questions. And he answered every single thing for me. Mm-hmm. And I told him at the time, because also in this space, as we've talked about with companies like Standard Cognition, like there's a lot of talk, but there's not a lot of action too. So even if you're maybe thinking about the right way, okay, show it, prove it, eat what you cook. And so I told him, I said, call me when you've got something to show me. And he did. And we did the tour. And I got to tell you, it's pretty impressive. Like it's completely asset light. I mean, it's basically just a smart, not a cart,
trolley.
But a trolley, like that you pick up, as you're walking into a supermarket or something, just a little basket. You walk around with it. There's nothing in the ceiling, no cameras. He's got the whole 9,000 square foot store, which is a ton of products. They've got a great operation figured out in terms of how you want to catalog all those products and take the images in a very asset light way. And then you just kind of pay electronically and you walk out. It's super slick. And it's something that I think if you're like a small and mid-sized grocery operation, you should be looking at right now, because it's probably easy for you to test and probably really easy for you to replicate. I have some other thoughts too, but I mean, I don't know. Anne, what did you think of it as you were sitting there watching it?
Chris, you really hit on it for me. I mean, I've been talking for the last several weeks with the Amazon Fresh expansion happening, Walmart getting into automated fulfillment centers. Like, to me, this product could be the arrow in the quiver that could save some of these regional grocers or small to mid-sized grocers, because it allows them with like pretty much low to no lift to just turn their stores into a more convenient shopping experience. I mean, you didn't talk about like how they're getting product on. I mean, Imagr is really thinking about what's easy. You hold a product in a light booth, basically, that you keep in the back room for 8 seconds and the product's categorized. I mean, they've really thought through how to make this a manageable approach for those mid-level regional grocers. And so I think that that's really important. And also I think that this really, for me, after seeing this, caters to the changing trip types that I think we're going to start to see in grocery. And, I think a lot of times the carts for me were like, oh my God, that's like, you can only fit 2 bags in there. And is it going to be right? And how are you going to, make this a more convenient shopping experience?
Yep.
But I think that they've really done it. Like there's no, you don't have to swipe a card on here. It's just walk in, business as usual. And it can kind of just run alongside normal grocery operations. Like you don't have to do anything to the store. You can test this without having to disrupt your normal course of business. And I think that's going to be huge for those regionals.
And I think that's what's been the unlock for me recently is that like it's trip, this could be a trip type dependent answer. And this could be an easy way to help that trip type. Cause you're right. Like there's no heads up display on the cart. You don't have to slide a credit card. It's all, you make the interaction all through your mobile phone. And that just seems smart and intuitive and simple for consumers and retailers to deploy. And so I think that's maybe the first rung here that we're looking at, in this interim period is, ultimately is the other answer still the best answer? I'm still hedging that way because the one thing, even as bullish as I am on this now or interested in it, you still are only seeing what's in the cart. You're not seeing what's outside the cart or the trolley. And so that's where still the ceiling applications, the on-shelf applications of computer vision still matter and give you other benefits. We talked about that with Kroger too. So I still think that's an important part of this equation that we quite haven't figured out yet. But, I think we soon will. And it's really cool to see this step. So again, if you have a chance, please check out that video. All right, next topic, headline number 3. This is all about last mile delivery this week. So first we had Instacart naming a former Facebook VP as its new operations chief. According to Grocery Dive, Instacart named Asha Sharma its new chief operating officer. She's going to, quote, oversee the online company's marketplace services, including its app, logistics, and growth and marketing divisions, end quote. At Facebook, Sharma was also the vice president of product for the company's private communication services and served as vice president for Facebook Messenger and head of social impact. Now, keep all that in mind as we start to talk about this. The other big announcement was Uber acquired the on-demand alcohol delivery company Drizzly. Now, what's Drizzly for those that are unfamiliar? Well, Drizzly, according to Verge, is, quote, effectively an online delivery storefront for existing local liquor stores. The company partners with local sellers and then enlists delivery drivers similar to Uber Eats to handle the delivery. The service is now available in over 1,400 cities across the United States, end quote. Lot of heat happening in this space. And Anne, I know you have a special question this week just for me.
I do. So A&M and I are going to put you on the spot.
A&M and I, that's nice. I like that.
With this question, Chris, I'll let you answer this.
So I'm on the spot. Is that what you're saying?
You're on the spot.
A&M's putting you on the spot.
Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Here we go. Bring it.
AM, which is me.
Oh God.
We're going to put you on the spot. Okay.
Tables are turned, Mr. Walton. I like that.
Oh, they are. These two stories could be perceived as Instacart and Uber taking very different strategies. Instacart hiring a Facebook and Instagram executive to double down on their commercial customer personalization angle versus Uber acquiring Drizzly to gain further scale around delivery, thus achieving better operational leverage and last mile economics.
Okay.
Chris Walton, who do you think has the better strategy here?
Who do I think has the better strategy? Okay, that's a good put you on your spot question here. Like we're going straight into like management consulting theory here. That's a good, man, I don't know. I don't think either one has a better strategy. I just think they're at different places in their strategy is how I would argue that. And so the way I think about it first, let's set the context. Like I was just reading Domo's 2020 COVID report before I came on the show. And like the fall in traffic has just been massive. And sure, like it's all COVID, but at the end of the day too, consumer expectations have been changing. And we've talked about this a lot on the show. Like being able to get your goods same day or quickly is now a merchandisable event. And people are rushing to this and businesses are going to rush to this. And I think everyone is seeing this. And so I think the combined announcements, again, setting the table here, the combined announcements are just further proof that there are huge, huge dollars at stake here and things are going to continue to consolidate. I feel like we've been talking about the consolidation, for a really long time. Even when Uber was buying Postmates, that was a topic of conversation on this podcast. And so at some point, I think what we're going to see here is the consumer is going to gravitate towards one or two, maybe three options when they want same day delivery. And that's what we've been talking about to me that is scary as hell for retailers. Now, the question, whose strategy is better? I think both of them are going after that. Both of them are doing the same thing. Instacart is just, I think, much further along in that journey. I think the more interesting question to me, though, is who's more likely going to win, right? And that's where I think Instacart still has a leg up because I think Instacart is more in the mind of consumers for how to shop that way, especially for the product categories that you're going to want that way. Uber has Uber's recognition is really around like taxi services. Maybe it's Uber Eats too. So that's an important thing. So it can still, I think, grow into that. But, Instacart is really almost, even though it says it's not, has really almost been operating as a retailer when you think about how you shop its platform, how you interact with it. And then you talk about that announcement with Facebook and how we've talked about there's a lot of connections on social media where CPGs could become agnostic to where people pick up the product. And there's a lot of ways, even though they may never actually be a retailer, they're just a marketplace, that Instacart can have a leg up on a lot of this depending on how they think about it. And it feels like the move they've made with the hire is also a really good one. So I don't know, long story long, and answer that question, I don't think either one's better. I'd have to give Instacart the leg up though in ultimately carving out the same space. What do you guys think though?
Absolutely. Well, first, in the Instacart story, Asha Sharma, we got to pause Emma because guess what? She's a U of M grad.
Is she really?
We don't get a chance
show
ever on the podcast to give a little whoop whoop for a non-Stanford or HBS grad. So, woo!
Wow. That's big news. All right. If anyone knows, we'll reach out. But if anyone knows, or put us in touch, let's get her on the show. That'd be a great WRC podcast. That's good catch. I guess you don't see that often. So when it happens, you guys are like really, ready to pounce on it, huh?
That's hilarious. You choose to live here, so you better start supporting the hometown. Okay. So looking at this, I think one thing for me that, especially with the Amazon news and the story we're going to talk about later, I think you look at both of these companies and they're taking the same like Amazon flywheel approach of like target, like work on better customer experience, expand partnerships, bring more retailers on. And I do think that right now, as it stands, Jeff Wells at Grocery Dive said it best in his article, like Instacart has the ace in the hand because they have a larger base. They have a larger customer base for this type of setting. And I think bringing Asha on and really focusing on how do you extend the customer experience even further? What do you do with the community that you have and the partnerships that you can bring on? And she has that expertise from all of her work at Facebook. So I think that, for me, that's really going to propel Instacart right now. But, you look at Uber Eats, that still is a very customer friendly, platform. And the Drizzly acquisition, like you're saying, like it's connecting a lot of the local retailers in what I would argue is like maybe one of the better things that you could be doing delivery for. What people might start, what might really accelerate people using Uber Eats for,
right,
going to Uber Eats over somewhere else because of the conveniences. A lot of people are loyal to their local stores. So if they can get that delivered, they might be more willing to jump platforms.
Yeah, it makes me wonder too. And like, I also think like you'll start to see potentially, I think kind of even further down the line, what's interesting about this question is like, we've talked about it too, like the white label nature of the actual last mile. And do you start to see these companies start to partner in a different way too, where like maybe Uber brings to the table the last mile side of this or other providers do. And it's, I don't know, I'll say like Instacart powered by this for delivery or whatever. That's kind of silly, but like you get where I'm going with it is all that can happen behind the back or in the background in a lot of different ways. And there's probably unique partnership opportunities there to get, more value for the drivers in terms of what they can carry and how they can make money. And then also more scale efficiencies in terms of how the business is done too. So I don't know, Emma, what do you think? Any takes on this? Do you think we're barking up the right tree?
Definitely. I'm actually pretty proud of myself that my kind of mind was at the same place as yours. So I'm just proud of myself.
Good. You should never be proud of yourself based on whether you agree with us. In fact, I think that might be something to look at, but especially given some of the feedback I got this week from some fans on social media that I'll never forget. Somebody called me a failure in life after reading listening to one of our podcasts, which basically told me I've arrived, but that was one of my favorite things of all time. But anyway, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that was really all I had to say. I totally agree with you guys.
You feel like you're on the same page with us and you're proud of it. That a girl. I love it. All right. Awesome. All right, Ann, let's talk Lego. Because I can't get enough of doing that in my house every single day with two 6 and 8 year old boy.
But we've been talking a lot about unique brands that are uniquely positioned to be able to go in to do this kind of thing. And I can tell you, there's not many brands that I could see being able to create their own, we'll say, version of TikTok for the 7 to 10 year old audience. But Lego is one of those brands that has the brand cachet to do this. So they are partnering with Universal Media Group for a new app that they're calling Video.
Oh, that's
Video.
catchy. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let me
Can you
tell
say it
you
one more
guys,
time? I didn't quite catch it.
Video.
Nice. That's good. Okay.
Flat bill hat.
Yeah.
Okay, so
TB12.
Video is an app that kids download, and it's targeted for ages 7 to 10. It'll be available March 1st, but kids can direct, produce, star in, and share their own music videos set to songs from the Universal Music Group catalog, including songs like Marshmallows Happier, Imagine Dragons Believer, which you know very, very well if you have a child in the 7 to 10-year-old age range. So they take the Lego set that they buy, they set up their little character on like a little fake stage. They have these other things called beat bits that they plug into the background of the stage. And then using augmented reality, they kind of hold the phone up to this little scene that they've created with their Lego characters. And then they can act in these little scenes and create music videos to the music from this Universal Music Group catalog. Other cool digital effects like explosions, and it's like,
so you did this with Dre. You did this with your kid last night, right? Like you guys
well,
were loving, or you like
we
looked at
watched
it
the
together
videos.
and
It's not
they were into
available
it.
yet. They're for
Yeah.
sale March 1st.
The hype videos, the sizzle reels.
But I'm telling you, I would be buying all of these if they were available today. Like, I wanted to buy one for my nephew's birthday coming up.
So you scale of 1 to 10, how much do you like this story?
Well, so I still have a little bit of the like, oh, now they need a phone again for something. However, I do think that Lego does a good job of like integrating the real and the digital piece. We've seen Nintendo have a ton of success with things like Mario Kart Live and like kind of ways to still let them be creative and be touch and feel and like hands-on, but also integrate technology into that. But I think for me, the biggest thing here is that we're really starting to get a taste of how Gen Alpha, if you weren't familiar, that's after Gen Z. Gen Alpha is going to be shopping and playing. And that's why I think this is something to pay very, very close attention to.
I never
You
thought
guys
about
like
that.
Legos, Chris?
I do. Yeah, no, I think this is super cool. I mean, I also didn't know that like generations are like hurricanes where we recycle the alphabet, but I guess that makes sense. No, I think this is cool. I mean, we've talked about this a lot in terms of the brands taking control, and Lego unboxing of Legos and putting Legos together is such a huge thing on YouTube. Like, why shouldn't Lego get a cut of that? I think it just makes a ton of sense. If I was being critical, I think some of what it's doing and how they're putting it together, it's a little too like thought out and a little too involved in terms of all the different things. It in some ways it feels a little inorganic to me versus organically letting it happen. Big pluses for me though, it's like a closed network. So like one of the problems with YouTube is you never know what your kids are watching. Like you think they're doing these Lego videos and all of a sudden there's like some, psycho doing some crazy video with Legos, and that's scary as hell. So I think that's a huge win here. But I mean, here's what I would still say though, and I've been saying this a lot, is I actually want to see brands go even harder at this. Like, why aren't there, why does I was doing this, like, I think I did this on a show like a year ago. Why does Transformers e-commerce site suck? Why don't they have their own stores? Why don't they have their own platform to do this like Lego is doing? Why aren't we seeing this go faster and faster than it is? It doesn't make sense to me. I mean, it is so easy to stand up e-commerce sites at this point. Like, basically, they're all the freaking same because we all know how people shop, but yet you go on some of these brand sites and it's like, I couldn't buy an Optimus Prime to save my life. And it doesn't make sense. So I don't know, Emma, what's your last word on this one?
I'm just glad that they're going after like making an app that's like TikTok for children, because what the algorithm shows me is not for children.
Oh yeah. Let me tell you, as a mom with a 10-year-old, there's stuff on there that you can't unsee, and that I know a 10-year-old is not able to unsee either. So the expectations of what content is for that generation is scary. So yeah, I'm sure they'll all just want the PG version of Lego, but here's hoping. At least Legos are cool enough that they could probably draw them in a little bit.
I think if you're listening to this podcast, you could see just how you could literally hear how wide your eyes just got as you said that too, when you were talking about what people see on that. All right, well, let's close it up this week. I think, this week, the big topic of the week, I feel like something happened at Amazon. Yeah, I don't know about you guys, but something big broke at Amazon. And of course, that was that Jeff Bezos stepped down. So he's leaving leaving his role as chief executive officer. He's no longer at the helm of the company he founded 27 years ago. He's going to transition to the role of executive chair, and Andy Jassy, the chief executive of Amazon Web Services, is going to take over. In a memo to employees, what he said is he's going to use the transition period to give him, quote, here we go, the time and energy I needed to focus on the Day One Fund, the Bezos Earth Fund, Blue Origin, the Washington Post, and my other passions, end quote, which may involve standing in front of reflecting pools and looking really rich. But regardless of that, putting that aside, question for you. We've studied Amazon a lot. We've talked about it a lot on the show, and you and I were studying it even way back in our Target days. You know, we all have as consumers for, 20, 25 plus years, whatever it is. What are the things each of you remember most? Maybe one or two things that you've taken away from all of that study. That's my first question. And then I have a fun question to close us up.
So I guess I would say for me, it's ultimately, you hear this so much from people, and Chris, you and I hate this, it drives us crazy, but like the common answer of like, focus on your customer, like put your customer first, the FOIC.
Yourself. Yeah.
Focus on your customer. But I think that Amazon does this better than anyone. I mean, the whole Amazon flywheel that they, put out, that I think every company has pinned up or pasted up on a whiteboard somewhere as really the like end all be all to get to. That's something that they've excelled at very well. And you talked about it and in your posts that you sent out this week, but it's really about the things that aren't going to change about people. Like, how do you just make life more convenient overall? And that is all fed into this overall flywheel of, making things cost less, making things get to you faster, easier, giving you more variety, like all of these things that they just do so well. And I would say aren't afraid to put out there. Like, they have more grace because they have the budgets for R&D a lot more than a lot of retailers have. But I do think that they aren't afraid to actually, throw something out there and then, a year later or a couple of months later be like, yeah, this was a terrible idea, but we learned from it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. The flywheel to me is probably the biggest thing. And then, I think the thing that I learned from you in your study of Amazon was actually the universal truths concept, which is, him saying, bet on the things that aren't going to change, not the things that will. I mean, that's what I've learned from my conversations with you. I can remember you telling me that for the first time and being like, yeah, that's just super smart. And of course, the fear of failure too. Emma, what about you? I'm curious, younger perspective here, sprightly.
The biggest thing that I'm taking away from Amazon and Bezos' tenure there is that just like the change in shipping, having Prime and being able to get things for free in 2 days, and their just ability to change distribution as we once knew it. I think that's the biggest thing.
Continue. Yeah, I mean, I think of that too, like the one click, the Prime, just continuing to push the envelope on. I was thinking about that this morning too. Like, remember how when they went to 1 day, we were all like, do we all really need this? And then it's actually turns out it's not even that. We needed same day for certain categories, which they knew, and they were going at this the whole time. And it's probably going to be even faster than that. And they're so far ahead of the curve on that. I think, you have to remember that too. I mean, for me, the takeaway I would have is I always think of him as an infrastructuralist. And this kind of goes back to what we talked about with the Asos story a little bit too. But by infrastructuralist, I mean, somebody said it to me a different way, which is, would you rather be in the business of selling the tools that make a house or selling the house itself? And I think that's how he thinks about things. You listen to him. One of the best things I've ever watched is the interview he gave to the Economic Club of Washington. He talked about why he's colonizing space and how he thinks about, all the infrastructure that can be laid there to create business model on top of business model at some point in time. And also he thinks, we need it for various reasons.
He's going to retire.
I think that's how he thinks about the business. What's that, Ann?
He's going to retire there to space.
Yeah, because that's where he's going to, he's going to retire, right? That's his other passion, right? So anyway, but I think it's a good list. I mean, I hope everyone took some enjoyment out of that, but those are the things that I think we all remember. My last question though, for you, because this is our show and that's what we do, is who's going to win retirement, Jeff or McKinsey? Ann?
Oh, Jeff, obviously.
Really? Oh, really?
I mean,
what do you think, Emma? I'm going the other way. Emma, what do you think?
I was going to say McKinsey won that a long time ago.
Did you? Oh,
Yeah.
nice. Why? That's great. I love that.
I
Why?
mean, she got out of that with so much money and like more money than anyone could ever need. She didn't even like she could have retired years ago. I don't know.
And she hasn't set the expectation for herself. She's going to explore space. That's a really good point, actually. And what do you think, though? You still pick Bezos?
Yeah, for sure. The guy is just
Why?
like, because everything he touches is gold. Like, I think he's just going to get, it's just easy. It's easy for him. Even with Mackenzie, like she's the richest woman in the US. And I mean, fifth in the world or something like that. Crazy. But yeah, I think, he's going to get recognized for more, and he's just going to be like hanging out in St. Bart somewhere on a yacht with his new lady friend.
Jacked. Yeah.
Yeah.
After he
did,
did,
oh my
after
God.
He did his morning pumped workout. Yeah. Right.
Oh my God. Now, can you just imagine, like, how surprised would you be? I'm just like picturing Jeff Bezos, like entering a strongman competition in like 2 years. And suddenly he's just like spray tanned and roided up. Just like, I've been working out
even more
6
so,
days.
Yeah. I see. I disagree with you, though. I mean, I think that's all true, but I think she's going to win because look at what she's been doing on the philanthropy side. I think that's just incredibly admirable. And I don't know. We'll see what he does, but we'll see what he does. But I think I'm excited.
I mean, I like her better.
Emma's, what's that?
I like her better.
Yeah, I like Emma's rationale. I'm going with the youngster on this one. See, Emma, I feel good when I agree with you too. So it goes.
I'm glad.
It goes full circle. All right. Well, that wraps us up. We got some big birthdays today. Happy birthday to Alice Cooper. He's also, by the way, from Arizona, if you aren't aware of that one. And then
nice.
Also Rob Corddry. And I think this might be my all-time favorite one, and Natalie Imbruglia, the singer of Torn. Emma, do you know who that is?
Nope.
You don't know who that
Natalie
is?
Imbruglia.
How do you not know who that is? Oh my God.
I've never even heard that name.
Your generation shouldn't be able to rock all the 90s fashion and not know some of the best late 90s, early 2000 musical artists. Torn, like, oh, I'm something.
And I think we got to sing this. I think we got this. Yeah, how does it go?
I forget how it starts.
Already.
Nobody's gonna love.
I'm gonna start us off because I remember this.
All right.
Oh my God, this is so. I'm all out of faith. This is how I feel. Sing it with me. I'm cold and I'm ashamed. Lying naked on the floor. Okay, this is terrible. We're gonna stop doing this for everyone.
Yes. Yeah, this is like better sung by their own people by themselves in their showers, in their cars with the windows shut.
Yeah, that is not a duet song in any way, shape, or form. Oh my God. All right. On that note, literally that note. Remember, if you can only read or listen to one retail blog in the business, make it OmniTalk. Our Fast Five podcast is the quickest, fastest rundown of all the week's top news. And our twice weekly newsletter tells you the top 5 things you need to know each day, and also features special content exclusive to us and just for you, all within the preview pane of your inbox. And boy, oh boy, do we have a ton of fun doing it. You can sign up today at www.omnitalk.blog. Thanks as always for listening in. Please remember to like and leave us a review wherever you happen to listen to your podcast or on YouTube. And of course, be careful out there. Go Bucks. The OmniTalk Fast 5 podcast is brought to you by the A&M Consumer and Retail Group. And of course, Takeoff. Takeoff is transforming grocery buying, powering grocers to thrive online. The key is micro-fulfillment, small robotic fulfillment centers that can be leveraged at a hyperlocal scale. Takeoff also offers a robust software suite so grocers can seamlessly integrate the robotic solution into their existing businesses. To learn more, visit takeoff.com.